Hello and welcome to Around the Towns. I'm your host, Daniel Murphy, and this episode I'll be talking to Stephen Bliss, the new superintendent of Dover-Sherborn School System, and I have an interview with Janet McKenzie, a longtime volunteer here at DSC TV. So let's get started with my interview with Stephen Bliss.
I'm Steve Bliss. I've been in Dover-Sherborn for 4 years as the assistant superintendent, and I'll be assuming the superintendency in the summer.
So what's your own background, you've been assistant superintendent for 4 years, and what was your background before that?
Sure. I was an English teacher at the middle school and high school level. I was a department chair. I was an assistant principal at a middle school. I was a principal at a middle school, and I was most recently a principal in a very large high school in Central Mass, where I had about 1,400 kids in my building and a couple hundred teachers, a very large regional school system. So I've been middle school, high school teaching as an assistant principal, as a principal, and then moved from building-based administration in a principalship to central office in coming to Dover-Sherborn. And at the time, I was looking for central office positions, and it was absolutely, Dover-Sherborn was where I wanted to be. And I love my work. I love coming to school every day. You really couldn't ask for a better place.
Okay, and you really like working with this size population more so than the larger one that you came from?
Yeah, one of the things here is the ability to, two things, is to really build relationships with people. You know, we have about 2,142 kids in the school system, 4 schools, 3 school districts, 16 school committee members. It's a complicated operation, but it's not untenable. You know, it's a place where you can get to know the kids and the faculty members and be able to step into any meeting that's going on, any building, and know the players and know a lot of our community members. So that's phenomenal to have that. And then to be able, secondarily, to be able to get to the work at hand. You know, some of the school districts where some of my colleagues are, they have struggles around, you know, major issues around student discipline, around lack of resources and whatnot. And we're so fortunate in Dover-Sherborn that we're able to get to the work of the teaching and learning because you're not derailed with so much of the sort of commotion that I think a lot of other, not that I think, that many other districts suffer with.
What are some of the challenges that Dover-Sherborn presents?
Sure, absolutely. One of the challenges we face is the fact that we're not a pure region. We are 3 school districts. So, you know, we have Sherborn Public Schools with 1 school. It's called Pine Hill, and it's a pre-K through 5 building. And Dover Public Schools is a separate school district. I mean, it has its own school committee, its own operating budget, its own school improvement plan. I mean, it really is a separate entity, and that, of course, is with the Chickering School. And then we have the region with the middle school and high school. So that construct can prove challenging in the sense that some of the things that we're called upon to do compliance-wise in terms of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, we are truly recognized as 3 school districts. So a lot of times we're called upon to do things in triplicate 3 times because we are 3 school districts. If we were truly regionalized, you know, the Dover-Sherborn regional schools, K-12 or pre-K through 12, that would in some ways simplify some of the work, you know, that's at hand. So that poses a challenge, but to the credit of our teachers, administrative staff, and school committee members, we've been able to do a lot of work that a region would do if we were a kindergarten through 12 region, despite the fact that we're not. You know, so the curriculum work that we're engaged in, it's phenomenal that you can talk to 2nd grade teachers in either one of our elementary schools, and there's an earnest desire to engage and work with 2nd grade teachers in both buildings, when they could easily just say, oh, you know, we're a separate school district, and they are. So that's a credit to the system.
And are there some other budgetary challenges? I know there was the installation of the air conditioning, which a lot of the town was paying
Sure.
for at the middle school.
Sure.
Things like that. Right?
Yeah, we've had a couple of real big lightning rods. A couple of things over the past few years. The wastewater treatment facility here at the region posed a very interesting challenge for us and for our townspeople. And the air conditioning project for the middle school. And then there are some costs within your budget that we are trying to be creative about finding ways to to meet the needs of students, particularly students for whom there are special needs, so our special needs populations. Special ed costs are escalating in every public school district, across the country. It's not an anomaly here, but certainly we're tasked with trying to deliver the world-class education and the stellar services that we do and for which we're most proud, but to try to do it in a really fiscally conservative way, so that we can accomplish both ends, which is to meet budget guidelines, but to also meet needs of students, and the needs of students come first.
Yeah. I understood that we were in a bit of a honeymoon period since the renovations to the high school and the middle school, and now it looks like some upcoming challenges might exist with those facilities.
Yeah, I mean, the buildings are aging, and the good news of it is that we actually, our 3 school committees asked us to contract with an independent company to develop a 20-year capital plan for each of our buildings, and we've done that, and those reports are publicly available. And the really great news of that, among other things, is that Pine Hill is, our oldest building, and it really, the report does not have the life cycle of that building spinning off, so it does not suggest that we will absolutely need in Sherborn a new elementary school, which is great news, because we have a wonderful custodial and physical plant staff who've done a great job of maintaining the building. So as long as we keep pace with the capital projects for that building, there's no anticipation that we'll need to take that building offline and to build a new elementary school, which is a massive fiscal undertaking for a town. So we were pleased to read that in the report. And we have a similar report for Chickering, which of course is only 11 years old at this point, and similar reports for each of the 3 buildings here on the campus, the regional campus, the middle school, high school, and the administration building.
Yeah. So what are the challenges of this transitional period?
One of the greatest challenges for me, quite honestly, is we have a number of administrative changes happening in the system. And as I've worked through the succession plan, this is a succession plan that we had worked on for some time, and it was presented to our school committees last winter. And as part of the plan for the rollout of my movement into the position of superintendent, was that I would make a lot of stops with a lot of the parent groups and whatnot, and sort of run a little bit of that circuit. And in doing that, a lot of the parents for whom I have enormous respect asked me quite candidly, Steve, do you have any concern, because we have a new principal, we have a couple of relatively new special ed directors, we have a new principal at Pine Hill, we're looking for a new principal at Chickering, we have fundamentally a new assistant headmaster at the middle school. With your movement, there'll be a new assistant superintendent. Does that cause you any anxiety? And Dan, to be honest, my answer was no. And part of the reason is that we have tremendously stable, predictable, and high-performing faculty members. And I think in a school system, if you have that core stability within your teaching faculty, you can sustain administrative change in a better way maybe than another place may be able to. A school system where there isn't such strength among the teaching faculty. So we're excited. It's virtually an entire new administrative cabinet. I mean, it really is in terms of the leadership of the school system. So it marks a real change of time for Dover-Sherborn.
This transition period began last winter, do you feel? Or
well, definitely the succession plan began. So once the school committees approved moving me into position, then we charted out a course that took us from about January of 2013 right until the current time, which was to engage in all the new hiring, to set goals for next year, to go and to meet with a lot of the constituent groups, and to begin to really chart the course for the school system moving forward. And it's remarkable the support that we enjoy, and it's not me. My function as superintendent just makes my job different. Doesn't make me any more important than anyone else in the school system. It's just my work is different. And the fact that 16 school committee members, we have 3 school committees here, but there are 16 members in the aggregate. The fact that 16 people listened to, processed, considered, in the best interest of kids in the system, the fact that moving an assistant superintendent into the superintendency made sense for the school district, it was just a remarkable show of confidence, not only in the hopefully the leadership that I bring to the system, but also their deep-seated commitment to the kids and the families whom we serve.
How would you split your time between the
Creatively.
different? Yeah.
Creatively, yeah. It's tough because, you know, when you're in a central office position, if you've gone through and you've been a teacher and you've been a building level administrator, your heart is in the classroom, and you want to be with teachers and you want to be with kids. And so one of the things that I've done over the past 4 years with my schedule is when I have meetings, I very infrequently have any meetings in my office at the admin building. I meet in buildings, in school buildings, which helps because when you're over there in one of the buildings for a particular meeting, you will have occasion to be able to stroll through the building, visit some classrooms, meet some students, talk to some teachers. That's been really important. And as I move into the superintendency, which kind of takes you even another layer away by virtue of the work, could take someone away another layer from the buildings. I'm actually next year going to begin each of my school days in one of our school buildings and block out a period of time during which I won't be in meetings and I can be in classrooms and engaging and getting a real read on the curriculum and the instruction that's being provided to students.
I mean, you just want to say a few things about what are your future plans for the position or things like that?
Well, actually, we spent last night at the joint school committee meeting, we spent more than an hour, I would say, going through a 6-page document that outlines 8 or 9 goals in great detail that I have for the school system for next year. So I would really encourage the viewing audience to visit the Dover-Sherborn website in the next few days. Certainly by the weekend, we'll have that posted. And I think it would be very helpful for parents, for guardians, for students, community members to get a sense of what the administration is really looking to accomplish next school year, because from those goals sort of trickle all of the administrators' goals for next school year through all the buildings. So I would really encourage the viewing audience to review the goals document because it's quite detailed. We try for the website to be a huge conduit of information. It can always be improved. And one of the things where the parents and guardians and students have had a lot of frustration around is around the calendar feature. You know, parents are troubled because they have to go to the Chickering site to kind of get a sense of what's going on at Chickering and to the Pine Hill site. So we're working on a Google-based calendar that will actually warehouse all events taking place throughout the entire school system. And while it may look sort of, you know, visually convoluted because you're seeing we're a busy school system, it will at least provide one-stop shopping for parents and guardians, for students, for faculty members, and general community members to be able to get a sense of what's going on a particular day. That also helps to avoid conflicts, because you really don't want for a parent to be conflicted about whether to attend an elementary art show or the band concert at the high school if you happen to have a student in both.
Is there more things you want to add, or?
No, just I think it's really interesting, and I want to thank you for reaching out to me. It's been wonderful to meet you, and I'm actually hoping that we'll be able to have ongoing dialogue about a way to be able to have some kind of a periodic message that we can put through cable next year. I think it would be wonderful.
Here's my interview with Janet McKenzie, a longtime volunteer here at DSC TV.
Hi, I'm Janet McKenzie, and I used to work here, and I don't anymore.
So let's start. How long did you work with DSC TV?
I worked 22 years, and
how'd you get started?
I got started because I was just getting ready to retire from my work at Baybank, and I needed something to do to take up my time. And I do love photography, and I thought of going into that a little deeper. And I happened to be eating supper that night, and I was all alone, so I'm watching TV, and I saw where a Channel 8 in Dover popped on, and I said, whoa, what's that? So I watched it, and they were advertising for people to volunteer and come and take the classes that they were offering. And I said to myself, oh, I could take a class on the camera, and that would be good, and it would be cheap because it's free. So that's how I ended up signing up. And then I thought, well, I don't know if I can do all of those other things like editing and lights and, you know, all this stuff, sound. And I said, well, I'll really try to learn the camera, and then if they kick me out, I'll at least know that. But I ended up having a wonderful teacher in Andy Perrott, was the first one here, and he was excellent. He had was really very patient, and it was a lot of help to somebody like me trying to figure out what I was doing. And I remember in the first class, I had a boy, I've forgotten how old exactly he was, but it was Kerchick boy. And if I needed a question answered, I would ask him. And I think he thought it was kind of good an adult was asking him for advice. And
So what were some of the responsibilities that you took on while you were here?
well, it was mostly the camera work. And I think it helped, too, that I was in town all the time because I didn't have a job to go to, and many of the volunteers had jobs. And if we were doing something like in the afternoon, I was one of the few camera people that was around. So I think just being there for them a lot. And then, of course, I went on to produce a couple of my own shows. They were one-time shows, but I learned a lot from that.
You want to talk somewhat about what some of those shows were?
Sure. The first one I did was, I thought in my own mind it would probably be a 15-minute show because I wanted to talk about my father's career here in Dover because he was tree warden and moth superintendent of the town of Dover for 60 years. He retired at the age of 80. So he spent a long time at it, and I also wanted it to be a little history of the tree department because it was quite different in my father's day than it is now. So I wanted to talk about that. And in his position, my father had worked with almost every young fellow in town, so I had to pick a few people I wanted to interview, and I got in some trouble for that because I had so many people afterwards say, oh, we would have been on. Well, it had probably been a running series if I had done that because there were so many people that had worked with him. But I chose different people for things that I wanted to bring out about him and the department. And it did end up being an hour and I think it was 4 minutes and something seconds, which was fine, except that's a lot of editing. And thank goodness I had a terrific gal, Josie Sethi, who had been through the classes here and everything, and she had done some work, film work before she came here, so she had a little advantage there. She helped me with the editing in particular, but she did also work on, you know, the camera work for me at times. So that's how I got to know her. So we got through that one, and then I wanted to do a Mother's Day show, and I thought I would do it with my own mother in mind. So that did end up being a 15-minute show, but as I've told people, my mother would have understood that because my father and I were pretty close. So, but those are the two shows that I really did myself. And that wasn't really what I wanted to do, is produce. I wanted to just be on the camera.
Well, I mean, and the camera work was what you really enjoyed. So what were some of the aspects of working the camera that you really did enjoy?
That I did enjoy?
Yeah.
Just being there and doing it. And when you end up seeing it on television and you know you haven't goofed up too much, you know, it's an accomplishment that you feel comfortable with. Mm-hmm. And but I love going out and you know, to different events and trying to do things with that. And you know, I just loved doing it, more or less.
Well, and did you have really positive reactions to your work that you experienced?
Oh yes, I did. I was grateful to have learned all the things I did from everything, and all the interviews that we had done, and the people that we interviewed, and gave you a different aspect of what their jobs were and what their lifetime, you know, what they have gone through. And I love people, so I enjoyed getting to hear about what all these different people are doing. Yeah. I remember a lot of people. I don't always remember their names, but I do remember. So far I've had a pretty good memory of things that have happened a long time ago. I've been lucky that way, I guess. So it's been fun, and it's been fun thinking back on all these different things, and some of the fun things that have happened. Like I remember when we first started, we did a show called Cable Neighbors, and we did that with the Sherborn people at the beginning, and they were 15-minute segments, and we used to come. I remember coming up here on a Sunday afternoon, and we filmed all the segments in one swoop. And the one I really enjoyed there was we interviewed a chef from the Sherborn Inn, and he was cooking up a lot of food, and we got to eat it afterwards, so I enjoyed that. And I enjoyed, you know, there were fun things that happened, and there were sometimes a catastrophe, and you know, the mics didn't work and all this stuff, so it was an interesting time sometimes. But the main thing, I think, I now appreciate watching television and seeing these people that get paid for their work. I think we're just as professional here as they are. And I see glitches in some of their work, and I say, well, we had some glitches, but not that many, and I think we did a pretty good job. So it was very rewarding to look back on it that way.
Yeah. So what do you plan to do now with your retirement?
I'm finally retired. So, and that's what I really wanted to do. I want time to do things. I was on other committees in the town too, so that took up some time also, and I just wanted to be free of all that and have some time for myself, so I could. I've got no big plans, but I'm just going along, and if something great comes up, I'll be there to take it, I guess.
Yeah. So what were some of these other committees you were on?
I started off I was on the tree committee for quite some time. I can't really remember how many years I was on that. Then I went on I was on the cable board here for a while, and I was on the Memorial Day committee, and then that got me right up until just a couple of years ago. So the last thing I had was the volunteering here, and that's when I decided I was going to let that go too.
You were here when Sherborn was combined with cable station. Was that
Yes,
also a welcome transition?
Yes, I did get off the board at that time because they needed somebody to get off, and I thought that was a good way to slip out of that one. But so I got off. But yeah, I'm sorry I haven't worked a lot with the people from Sherborn, but I have been here and seen, the results of their work and everything. And I did work with Pat Cassell when we first started and everything. I did some things over in Sherborn with her, and enjoyed, meeting other people from other towns, and have made some friends from that too. So,
well, how did your responsibilities here change over time?
how did it change? Well, the equipment changed, for one thing, and the second show I did about my mother, I had to do on the computer. So, but Mike here helped me out, and got through that one okay. So I don't think it was a disaster or anything. So, but yeah, the equipment changed, and but I was with Linda Means on her show, Candid Conversations, for a long time, and I tried to always be available for her. And over the years, I began to realize that I was getting a little older, and I, found it hard to run around with the cameras and stuff, but I really didn't want to give it up. But then one day I just woke up and said, that's it.
So is there anything else that you'd like to say, or because I think that about wraps this up?
Well, I'd like to thank all the people I worked with, and I just, as I say, it's the people that make the whole thing worthwhile. And I've enjoyed it. I've met some wonderful people, and I hope we'll be lifetime friends now. And it's just been a wonderful experience, and I think everybody should have that experience. So hopefully in the days I'm retired now, really retired, I hope I can still remember everybody and at least be able to say hi to them and know I know them. But it's, and I think it's a wonderful thing for the young people to learn, and even if they don't go on to do it for a lifetime, it's a great thing to learn. And as I say, you do meet wonderful people along the way, so if you're so inclined to like that part of it.
Well, thanks so much for coming in, and thanks so much for working here for so long.
Well, thank you for both. It's been a pleasure, and I'll really miss it too. So thank you for having me.
No, thank you.
Thanks.
So that's this edition of Around the Towns. Thanks so much for tuning in.